Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with friends and get your gaming goodness every Saturday, except for the next coming couple of weeks, because this is the last episode of 2019. Whoa, hold on to your socks, everyone. My name's Dylan Blight. Also joining me, Kieran Marchant.
Fucking hell, Dylan, my socks are gone. You didn't tell me. You could have given me some warning.
I tried to give you warning.
My feet are going to be cold for the whole podcast.
They're not.
I don't even have extra
days.
socks packed into this couch somewhere. You know, normally I could dig around and be like, oh, a pair of socks out of my couch, thanks.
No, that's weird. All right, no, stop.
How is it weird?
No,
I just take my socks off while I'm sat on the couch when they get hot. Sometimes they just fall down the side and, you know, they won't be that weird. And if my feet get cold next time, you just rip them out of the side of the couch, you put them on,
that's horrible.
Good.
That's disgusting.
You're
also,
good.
here's Ashley Hobley.
Hey. Yeah, that's weird. Why do you have like a sock drawer in your couch? That sounds weird.
It's not a sock drawer. They'll only ever be like one pair at a time because after that one time I've used them, I would have like, you know, walked around them a little bit and then chucked them in the wash.
Were you though?
It's just turned into the most like single bros ever fucking opening to a podcast I've ever had. Take my socks off and then in the couch. Sometimes I wash them. She'll be right. Fucking hell. If you want a 2020 New Year's resolution, Kieran, I can point you in the direction. So this week on the show, we're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite games, our top 10 personal favorite games. In just a moment. I will pimp, of course, if you head on over to explosionnetwork.com/best of 2019, you'll be able to find currently our top 10 Explosion Network officially voted for official list that's up, as well as top 5 most memorable moments in games, top 5 best addictive gameplay, top 5 best stories. There are also some things that are up, as well as the TV stuff, and the movie stuff starts next week, and that's the whole shebang this year.
But who cares about that stuff, you know? Just games.
Categories. Well, in case you care about both, you know, it's what a weird concept.
I would argue that other stuff is more important, but whatever.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
And you should definitely be listening to What Do You Want to Watch every fortnight.
Far out. All right, before we get into the top 10 stuff, though, I was going to start with two questions. The first one is, how did we just feel about games in general for 2019? If you felt like it was a weird I mean, Kieran should have an interesting answer, I guess. For me and Ash, more so, I feel like, did you feel like the games this year were like super grabbing your attention, or like it was a kind of this boring year between generations somewhat, as it kind of is? Ash?
Yeah, I definitely felt like it was a leaner year. I just putting this list together was tough. Just because things didn't grab me this year, that made me want to go out and buy them and play them. So, but I do have 10, so that I'm pleased with that.
You're like, every version of Auto Chess is on Ash's list.
Only one. Joke. Spoilers.
Okay, it's going to be horrible if I'm joking, but it turns out to be true. Yeah, I would somewhat agree. Like, looking at my top 10 list, I'm like, it's very like the top X amount of games, you know, like top 5-ish or whatever. I'm like, yeah, these are like really great games, and maybe a couple of them I could look back on this entire generation, and maybe some of these would make the cut in a top 10 of this generation type thing. But then it's like the bottom end of the list, I'm like, they're good games, but they're not like it definitely makes the year seem weirder compared to other years. You know what I'm saying? I was looking back at some other top 10 lists from past couple of years by searching through my Twitter account and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this year's a bit interesting, I feel, for top 10 years type stuff. That's fine. Still some good games. Kieran, how do you feel about the year in games?
It was a weird year because if you didn't know, I fell off the face of the earth for games for, let's say, 7 months. Because I like dove straight into Overwatch and kind of let it envelop me and didn't play anything else. But the weird thing was, looking at this list, if I kind of went back to the start of the year and asked, you know, actual video game playing Kieran, what games did you want to play this year? I would have played everything that I wanted to play. That initially, except for maybe one game, there's one game I missed, which I definitely missed, which is Oh, maybe 2 or 3 actually. But say looking forward to the year without really knowing much about like your controls, without knowing much about Days Gone. The only one game that I missed out on that I really thought I would have wanted to play was Resident Evil 2, which even making this list of 10 games, it's not. I wouldn't say they're a top 10. I think I have a top 7, and then there's like 3 games that I played this year that I enjoyed, but they're not really, they're just in the top 10 because that's, they're the games I played other than Overwatch. But I was also very surprised that I hadn't missed out on that much stuff. Like the only 3 games I think I missed this year that are probably interesting to me are Control, Resident Evil 2, Days Gone.
I can say straight now, there's some games that aren't on my list and also could have possibly made the Explosion Network's overall top 10 and or I could have helped push other games to high positions because I never played Resident Evil 2. Obviously, we talked about this last...
I'm going to shock everyone and say I didn't play it either.
Yeah, you did play it. I do want to play that though, but I never got around to it, right?
Actually, fun fact, Ashley's technically played more Resident Evil 2 than both
he
of
has.
us because he played the demo at PAX last year.
It's true.
Yeah.
And then I'd never got around to playing A Plague Tale Innocence after being so hyped and amped for it. I now own that. I brought it on Steam sale, just haven't got around to it yet.
Holiday break.
And the third game, Disco Elysium.
Yeah, Disco
brought it the
Disco
day it
actually
released.
needs to be added. Even stuff like I've got Concrete Genie sat there that I still haven't put in. That's only a 6-hour experience, and I know if I'd sat down and played it, it would be on this list. But I haven't sat down and played it. It's just especially the last 2 weeks where I've been playing God of War instead of current games.
That's important though. That's like game of the generation.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a game that I'm going back for to play. So yeah,
when we don't have any news, then yeah.
So, I will say I generally want to do. I don't know if it will be an article or something, but I definitely want to do best PS4 games or best PS4/Xbox One generation list or something.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to look back at the generation. Maybe if we do that at the start, we can even do that for an episode of.
We can't do it at the start of the year because Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy VII Remake and all this other stuff.
You have to wait till the PS5 comes out.
No, but so instead of the generation, why don't we just do of the decade?
No, decade list for games are bad.
It's already it's too late. They're all done.
Look. I don't think this is a hot take. This is just how I feel, right?
Okay,
Maybe
which is often a hot take.
Which is often a hot take.
How Dylan feels is a hot take, definitely.
Best of the decade lists work for games and TV and music because there is never a switch in how you partake in viewing those. You go to the fucking cinema or you listen to it, whatever. The basis of how you view and watch and whatever and that stuff is fine. Best of the decade for games don't work for me because often in a decade you will switch consoles.
Really? Because you just said games was the first thing you listed when you were listing things that it works for.
Oh, I said it backwards then. I fucked up. Look. I'm at least a couple. I'm at least a couple CC and dries in. Let's just give away the hot take. There's the information. But I meant movies, TV, music. Best of the decade makes perfect sense. Games doesn't make sense in best of decade because you switch consoles pretty much always in a.
But isn't it good to look at both generations though that have been in the decade?
I mean, if that's what you want to do,
it'd be an interesting thought if you can think that if a game from the past decade has somehow in that list surpassed the games from the current decade, why is that? Because it's at a disadvantage. It's at a disadvantage in console and hardware and everything. So why? That's why I think they're interesting to look at because then it's what? How does the person value the different console generations? How have they interacted with them?
The bet. If you narrow it down and you want to be what was the best PlayStation game of the last decade? At least then you're on somewhat even turf of the category being PlayStation. I think best games of the decade just opens up too many different qualities between consoles and whatever you're playing on that I just think that it's too mumbly jumbly for me.
Too mumbly
jumbly. So that's why I just prefer best PS4 games. Best PS3 games, best Wii U games, right? They're the three pillars of video games.
The three pillars of this decade.
I mean, if you look back at this decade, what have we had? Was Wii this decade? Fuck, I don't know. How long's it been?
Could be.
Wii U was definitely in this decade.
Wii U definitely was, but was Wii?
Wii U was 100%.
No, Wii was like 2005, I think.
No, Wii was early because Wii was the year before I
Wii U
left
released
England.
November 2012. So
Yeah.
Wii would have been out 2010, 2011.
Okay, so wow. So Wii U.
So Wii Sports Resort, game of the decade.
Game of the decade.
Game of the decade. Because the original Wii released in like 2006-ish.
Yeah, I thought it was 5-ish, but
No, 2000. It was like a year before I left England to come to this hellish landscape.
Wii Sports Resort came out 2009.
damn.
Oof.
Best of the last decade.
Yeah. That's cheating because it came right at the end. So
Anyway, that's a different. We've somehow ended up on a different topic. This is best of the year, somewhat. The other question I was thinking of as I was driving home from work before doing this podcast was, if I'd thought of this like a couple weeks ago, it would have made like a really good topic, like for an entire episode, I think. But looking back on the year, are there any like news stories, trailers, events, reveals, like just stuff that stands out to you as like, you know, like big events within the gaming thing? Because like I think I thought of it when I was driving along, so I'm like, in my mind I'm like, the Anthem story, that like, you know, behind the scenes of BioWare and that whole mess, like that stuff, that was like one of the standout probably news stories of the year. Also of the Riot Games coverage that Kotaku did, like standout like news stuff of the year. Trailer wise, I'm like, was there anything that blew anyone's socks off this year? Like, I don't
Keanu
really
Reeves
know.
and Keanu.
Yeah,
and
Keanu Reeves.
Cyber-
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if we're
Cyberpunk.
talking like news events and stories, then obviously, yeah, Keanu Reeves would definitely be one of the biggest ones of the year. But are there any other things that anyone else could think of? Because yeah, I was thinking like Riot Games, then Anthem story, because what a hot mess BioWare. I remember just reading that thing and it went forever and ever, but I was just like scrolling like, what the fuck, BioWare?
I think it might not be a big news story in itself, but I think overall Sony not being at E3 was a very big thing.
I mean, E3 was a big story. The leaks happened this year.
Yeah, E3, like a lot of stuff happened at E3 this year, and I think part of that, Sony not being there, changed up a lot. And I think it has... I think we don't know what this E3 has done yet until somewhere in the next generation, because I think Xbox made up a lot of ground in this E3 when it comes towards the next generation of consoles.
I mean, we could find out really as soon as next year, depending on who even bothers showing up.
I think they both have to. They kind of have to show up next year, right?
I mean, do they? Not if too many journalists are
Boycotting it.
boycotting it, which
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot possibly will. So yeah. Anything come to your mind, Ash?
Probably like the Blizzard controversy. That was a huge story this year.
Oh yeah.
I guess PS5 essentially being announced in a Wired
article.
twice. That was a weird story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the ongoing story of Epic Game Store. I think anytime anything was announced as exclusive or that, it became news for all the wrong reasons.
Or even, looking closer, the whole... I think it's just because it hasn't fully unraveled just yet. The whole Valve pulling out of the Game Awards and stuff is really interesting. Just because they've just come out... Like, they seem to be on the up again after having difficulties with the Steam store because of Epic Games and the Epic Game Store and everything, and having their own issues with different governments or countries coming after them for their consumer rights policies. Loot boxes, and then they seem to be coming on the way up again. Like, they seem to have done some really good things in their ongoing games like Counter-Strike and Dota, and they then announced Alex VR, which seemed to be going on the up and up and up, and then they pull out a Game Awards without much of a comment about it, and it's just kind of puts them in a weird spot, I think, for
Reckon
the
old Gabe
ongoing
just had a
period.
cold. Couldn't do
Just
it.
had a game,
Yeah.
just had a cold,
Just had a cold.
just pulled a sickie, mate.
Pull the sickie.
Just got on the phone to Jeff Keighley. Was like, can't come in. I'm sick. Yep.
He's like, gotta stay home and play Dota. The only last one that just came to my mind, I guess, was Ninja this year, or like Ninja / Mixer shit. I guess like the.
I think
the
Mixer
rise of
stuff in
Mixer and
general.
stuff. Yeah.
Mixer stuff in general, and then also the other side to that coin, Twitch just being Twitch has done just in general. I think Twitch has handled so many things so badly, and just their overall stance on different things and different bands and stuff that's been going around. I just don't think Twitch has had a good year, just in general. And I'm surprised that even with it, they've still they've ended the year well, because they announced before the end of the year, they announced Dr. Lupo, Tim the Tapman, and I can't remember the third person. I think it might be Lyric. No, it might not be Lyric. But there's three massive streamers that have signed multi-year deals with Twitch. And, Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tapman had all been rumored about going to Mixer because they're friends with Ninja. But, yeah, it seems to be... I think 2020 is going to be a very interesting year for streaming platforms because of that. Can Twitch fix and get their shit together in terms of, their creator support and actually their not having weird moments like Green Day saying, F Mixer on during a concert?
No, that was Blink-182.
No, it was Blink-182. Sorry, Blink-182 said
You
that.
just offended like 100,000 people.
But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year for streaming platforms next year.
Ash, did you have any others? Look like you're you look like you're
yeah, not
searching your
really.
soul for stuff over there.
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
the soul
there
the
were
internet?
layoffs. There was other things that happened this year. There was obviously the THQ thing that happened that everyone forgot about.
Telltale.
I forgot
Telltale
about
was last year,
Just
but then
then.
Telltale was last year? Why does it feel like it was this year? Maybe the whole Telltale being brought from the ashes and pretending like everything is the same.
It's
still.
fine.
That
Yeah,
was this year.
maybe that was this year. So that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No. The Reddit thing should definitely be on this list. If I was making like a top 10 fucking
Yeah.
weirdest stories in gaming from this year. Yeah. Anyway, let's.
And then just
yeah.
all the changes in major personnel. Like everybody kind
Oh,
of left
PlayStation
Sony
and stuff.
and moved.
Sony's
And then-
super weird.
And
Sony
then
was,
Reggie retiring as well. That's
Yeah.
big. Doug Bowser taking over. Yeah.
Yeah. Bowser killing Reggie. Solid story.
fucking Bowser.
10 games, personal lists, as voted by ourselves for our own lists. I always feel like I have to be really emphasize stuff sometimes because, like, personal lists.
Personal opinions, everybody.
Yeah.
What we as people believe, not what we're saying are the best games, because we did that over at explosionnetwork.com.
No, we didn't.
And even then, you may be like, why isn't Resident Evil 2 on this list, Dylan? None of us played it.
Listen, read that. Go to that article of top 10 games. At least get to 9. Love you, Nick. Love you, Nick.
I love you, Nick. We have had a history of Explosion Network where number 10 is a really random wild card, and
No one can accuse us of not
Being unique.
taking everyone's opinions and giving everyone fair ground. You know what I mean? Like,
everybody a fair share of votes to place however they see fit.
no one can accuse me of playing with the votes when I receive them either, because Kid Rock proved that.
Kid Rock did prove that.
All right. I'm going to go Kieran, Ash, then me, simply because that's the layout on the video and that's easy for me to keep track of. So, number 10, Kieran. What is
Number
it?
10.
Where we go? Kick it off.
Kingdom Hearts 3. I was really excited for this game. This game had a lot of build up. We've been waiting for it for so long. And I didn't love it over the top. I guess that's why it's scraping in at number 10, because I looked at my list and went, I have to put you somewhere, Kingdom Hearts. So I guess you're going at the bottom. Kingdom Hearts was not a game I finished. Definitely not.
I mean, you've already clarified the bottom three are barely scraped in games.
Just barely scraped in. Where it's like Kingdom Hearts 3. And for so many people, I think there are so many people in this, in the gaming sphere that love Kingdom Hearts 3 and love the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3. For somebody that never got to the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm thinking I'm lacking something that everybody really loved.
Yes, definitely.
But I still feel like going into it, it kind of felt dated a little bit. There was some stuff. The overall gameplay loop was.
It's as if they took 10 years to make it.
Yeah, exactly. It's as if they took 10 years to make it. I still loved the characters. I still loved the worlds you were exploring. It just wasn't exactly what I wanted from Kingdom Hearts 3. But it's still in my top 10 because I played it.
Ash, what do you got number 10?
My number 10 is Jedi Fallen Order. I had a pretty good time with it. I really love the opening to that game. I think it is astounding that opening is so good. And then, they get into the actual game and maybe it's not fantastic, but, it's enjoyable. But I tell you what.
Yeah.
Beating that freaking frog in that first level, one of the most satisfying things in gaming this year.
Do you reckon we could start up, Ash, between you and me, right? As an event for some kind of charity event for Explosion Network or whatever. We could do a speed run from the start of the game through to beating the frog, and it's a race between the two of us.
Yeah. Okay.
we could people could, put in donations to see who could be first and who would come second. And it would be, that'd be really fun.
Kieran's got a bug for like competition challenges. These days.
I do, because I need to start.
Right.
I need to start start.
Kieran needs other people to get punished.
I need to start putting some, putting out some challenges that I could win. That are realistically in my favor.
I was going to say, I find it funny that you have that at number 10 simply because I feel like the first time we talked about it, when you'd only played a couple of hours, it was like, yeah, this game's great, blah, 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 blah. And then as like weeks continued and you played some more, I think it's very noticeable that we're not really talking about it. It's just like, the opening's great, guys. Like,
I really love the opening,
The opening made it into
and
our
B2
is
cool.
Yeah. You're surprised
there's cool moments. I like the puzzle elements and that kind of stuff. That made me feel smart and that kind of thing, which I feel like a lot of some other games with puzzle elements don't make you feel. But yeah, I mean, I think there's 9 very good games ahead of it, so I'm not too concerned.
I think it speaks a lot to my year. But 2019 is my worst year in Star Wars of my life, I think, because not only is the Star Wars movie unsurprisingly not making it into my top 10 movies of the year, which is shocking and disheartening, but a Star Wars video game releases, and it's not even close to top 20, top 30. Fucking wouldn't touch the edge of my thing. I'm like, come on, what a piss poor year for Star Wars stuff. I mean,
The Mandalorian
didn't make it on my top 10 TV shows. I mean, it scraped in. It would have scraped at like 11, 12, 13. So it was close. It's definitely the closest thing I've got. So anyway, my number 10 is Kitana Zero, a game that released, very early in the year on PC and Switch. Pause.
For a very short period.
Initially, it was banned. No, it was
That's
initially
a story.
banned and then came back and yeah. Anyway.
That's a story. The ERSB not being able to decide what should and shouldn't be banned. Or classification board, I think, in Australia.
Now, I looked up the Wikipedia plot description of this because I didn't know a good way to describe it, so I'm just going to read it. Katana Zero takes place in a dystopic neo-noir metropolis of New Mecca. The game's plot is heavily affected by an invasion of an unnamed Aztonic nation, referred to as the Krogmaw War, launched by either New Mecca or whatever controlling government rules it. New Mecca's faction is implied to have lost the ensuing conflict. The player controls a katana-wielding assassin called Subject Zero, as he completes various assassination contracts given to him by psychiatrists, who also supplies him with Chronos, a drug that allows him to slow down time and predict the future. Now, I was very glad to read that description because I feel like if I tried to describe the game's plot, it's very heavily like leaning towards me having to spoil it because a lot of the game is not understanding what's going on and questioning stuff until like the last couple levels. So it's like, okay, anyway. But the gameplay is fun as fuck. Soundtrack is fantastic. It was one of it was definitely the first soundtrack of the year, I think. Like, well, it's like that and Kingdom Hearts were like my two like most repeated soundtracks for the first couple months of music wise. But this game has like a cool cyberpunky techno soundtrack for it. And gameplay wise, it's very much like it. I'm most related to Hotline Miami in that, so it's like a side scroller, but you'll walk into a screen and it's like a puzzle to solve because you'll die in one hit. So if someone hits you, if someone shoots you once, you're dead, right? But then the game loads you very quickly back to the start of that room like Hotline Miami does. And then you really just got to get into the rhythm of how to take down enemies really fast and quickly as you make your way through these certain sections and rooms. And what makes the game fun is you're combining stuff like Hotline Miami did, where if you walk through a door, the door like smash into the enemy, you can knock them out. You can quickly like melee, like sword people stuff. And then you get into really cool shit where if people are shooting you, you can quickly activate slow down time, and then you can deflect their bullets back at them with your katana sword and slow down time. So when you get into the rhythm of it, you're just like bang, bang, slicing dudes, fucking jumping up stuff. And like when you pull off levels really well, and then it will show you like replay later of how you did it all. And then rewatching it all happen in real time, like taking down all these enemies and stuff. It's really, really fun. So also feel like it somewhat went under the radar, I guess, because it released at like a weird point and it was banned in Australia originally. So I feel like a lot of people probably didn't play it because that was a weird one. It was like, hey, here's your review code. I'm reviewing. It's like, and now it's banned. I'm still reviewing it, I guess, but I can't. No one else could buy it. It was like, what do I do at this point? And eventually it came through anyway. So yeah, that's my number 10, Katana Zero. The developer is ASCII Soft or something, I think I should tell you. Yeah, developer ASCII Soft, published by Devolver Digital. I'm hoping the sequel comes soon because the end of the game also sets up a really interesting cliffhanger for where events could go. So hopefully we find out soon. Kieran, what's your number 9?
Number 9, and no, actually looking at this list and thinking about it, I actually had a lot of fun with number 9 for what I played of it was Devil May Cry 5, which I know for a lot of people that played it and loved the game, it's a lot higher on a lot of people's lists at the moment. I've really enjoyed it. It was really interesting that the game had brought out multiple characters and be able to give those characters different playstyles. Yes, Dante, and I can't remember the other character's freaking name now. It's not Virgil.
Emo dude?
It's the other emo kid with the freaking metal arm.
Dante 2.
Dante 2, because he is Dante 2. They kind of play the same, but a little differently, but they're very similar. And then there was a new character that they brought in, V, who was very interesting because his playstyle was so different from that of Dante's and copy pasta Dante, where I had a lot of fun with it. And the story itself was, very normal, very stock standard for Devil May Cry.
Nero?
Nero is, thank you. Nero is the character, yes. Very stock standard for Devil May Cry, the storyline. It was still something to be interested in. It's in this weird point for Devil May Cry where you're like, no, it was a weird, for somebody who isn't like a diehard Devil May Cry fan, it's like, right, so what are we doing at the minute? Because the last Devil May Cry game was like a reimagined reboot of the first one. DMC, which I love to bits. But now we're going back to the series beforehand.
Yeah, because no one liked that one.
Okay, I liked that one. Leave me
apart
alone.
from you. No one liked it apart from you, apparently.
Shut up, everyone.
Everyone hated his haircut or whatever the complaint was.
Well, his hair changed in the end. It went to the right color. But it was a fun game, and the sound very interesting, right? Very
Devil
interesting about this
Breaker!
game. It was Devil Trigger, thank you.
Also, Devil Trigger!
It was one of those that I even after, you know what? We heard it when they played it at the Video Game Awards or wherever we heard that play it.
Or E3, wherever the fuck it was, I don't even know.
Wherever the fuck
it was the
played.
Game Awards.
Okay, it was terrible.
Garbage.
Whatever it was. Yep.
I played the game. I was like, you know what? This soundtrack's fucking banging. This is a really fun soundtrack to play the game with. Maybe I'll go give it a try on Spotify. Maybe it was really bad on Spotify. And I'm like, okay, it's one of those soundtracks where you need the context of the game for it to be good. I had a lot of fun. It was very, they managed to keep it very Devil May Cry. It was had its very weird Japanese moments. Like, there was a video going around social media that people, even if you haven't played Devil May Cry, would have seen, where
I've seen it.
One of the characters gets a cowboy hat and gets a full-on dance break, and that is in the game. That is actually in the game. It's not even like something somebody made. So it's very over the top. It's still very fun, but yeah, Devil May Cry 5, if you're a fan of the series and you were still umming and ahhing about it, still jump in, give it a try, have a play. It's fun.
I've never played a single Devil May Cry, but I may play this one because it's on Game Pass. Thank you for my money. Xbox.
I did see that. Did.
Ash, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Borderlands 3. I had a good time going around shooting some skags and psychos with all sorts of different guns. Yeah, I had a good time. I like the Callisto twins for the most part. I think it was cool seeing Reese back, even though he's not voiced by Troy Baker, which was a thing.
That was another news story that was very weird and very controversial.
But really, there's one thing that Borderlands gave us above all else, and that's this awesome Randy Pitchford twirl that reads, "Why you guys would fuck me on this is beyond me. Thanks a lot."
How did I forget that?
I mean, this game deserves to be on that list for that reason alone.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. That quote will live on till next year. That's the thing. Borderlands 3 may be forgotten, but that quote still holds up as a joke.
I mean, this show relies on that joke.
It's true. It's very true. My number 9 is Apex Legends. So I played this bit with several people. The only person I've really played it with that actually enjoys playing it with me is Ash, I believe. Everyone else I've played it with just doesn't like playing it. They're just playing it to have something to do. Including Buddy Watson, who I played it with on Christmas Eve and was complaining the entire time. Come play games with me, Dylan. I literally replied, "You got Apex installed?" He's like, "Yeah."
No invite.
What, you? I don't know what the fuck you're doing on Christmas Eve. Don't you have family and stuff?
You could ask.
You can
Must be asked.
Fucking up. I assume everyone's got friends or family or something. Fucking Christmas Eve playing Apex Legends. Anyway, that night was terrible. I'm blaming it all on Buddy. Anyway, but the bigger picture is that Apex Legends, I've had a good time with it. Obviously, it's very sporadic across the year. Like, I played it a lot when it first released. I was playing it, during the season 1. And as we discussed on Platinum Explosion last week or this week, whenever the fuck it came out, when I was talking about the most recent update, Ash was like, "Didn't you play season 2? I'm like, "No, I didn't touch season 2. So now I've been playing it a bit more. Christmas update, it's fun. I like how much they've changed the map. They changed the map so much in this most recent update, I literally have no fucking idea where anything is, which is great because it looks completely different. I landed fucking lava and just die instantly. I'm like, well, that's great. That was a good thing that happened. That's great. Got these giant buildings, city made of snow buildings and stuff that's happening now. Either way, I think Apex Legends is a Respawn's best release of the year. Take that, Jedi Fallen Order. And I really like the way it plays. And I think that even when some other stuff potentially comes out in 2020, like Call of Duty getting its Battle Royale mode, probably whatever the hell else Battle Royales drop, because we know there's going to be a bunch. I think Apex Legends has kind of cemented itself as something that's going to stick around no matter what, because what it offers that these other ones aren't really doing is it's a hero shooter. And so even if I'm playing like Call of Duty, which is just going to be more like Call of Duty Black Ops Blackout mode, where it's just very much like playing Call of Duty on a big fucking map, the thing about Apex they'll have me coming back to it is the heroes. And that and when I play it by myself, I think I play it a little bit more serious, because, especially when I can tell the other two people playing it a bit more serious, and you get down to like, okay, so they picked a assault class before me, the other person picked a defense character, I'll play a healer this match. I actually start trying to play the modes and picking characters' abilities that work well with one another and these sorts of things. And in that game, because in Apex, because it's like so, everyone's like, your shields are like such a big part of it, especially when it comes to being knocked down. That's something that other Battle Royales don't do, because you'll have to chew through someone's shield. You will hear that glass breaks down, like, their shield's broken. Okay, cool. Now I can go in for the kill. But even if you go in for the kill, everyone will get knocked down, and that's where you get high level knockout shields. But then it's also where you can bait out other players really well by crawling around and just having them chase out after you, and then having your teammates kill them. Being like, haha, you went after the easy kill, but now you're fucking dead, sucked in. Like there's a lot that game introduced to Battle Royales, of course, including like the respawn beacons, the ping system, all these sorts of things. I really think it's just going to stick around for a long period. Like it's that and Fortnite are like very different, but they're going to carry over well to 2020. And I don't care for Fortnite, obviously. So Apex is one I'll come back to every couple months or however it is, and continue to play it out. Check out new characters. I was checking out that Watson I was playing as the other night. She's fun. Put down fucking barricades and shit. Cool. Great time. Apex Legends. What is your number 8, Kieran?
Lead on very well, because my number 8 is Apex Legends. I really enjoyed the small time I played this game. It's a battle royale, so, you know, of course, it was something that I dipped my toes in before going back to Overwatch. But I really appreciate, not just for the reasons that you've already listed, Dylan, I really appreciate Apex Legends because of what it did in 2019, where coming into 2019, I don't think anybody expected anything to challenge Fortnite anymore. Fortnite had won the quote-unquote war between itself and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and it was getting to a point where Fortnite was this juggernaut, and not only did Apex Legends come out and compete with Fortnite, but it came out, competed, and started beating Fortnite, and forced Fortnite to be a better game. It forced people to actually acknowledge that there is other options in the Battle Royale scene, and it did some really good things to actually to revolutionize the Battle Royale genre. You know, as you said, the ping system, the respawn token system, which things that very quickly made their way into Fortnite and very quickly evolved what Battle Royale games are from, you know, for the rest of their genre's lifespan. I really enjoyed, like, going back and looking at Apex. I think I saw it recently. I had to load it up for something and I'm going to play a few games, but it was, for me, it was looking at, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff they've added to this game. Like, I thought they'd only added maybe 1 or 2 characters in this game, but I think it's like 4 or 5 maybe now.
Since
they've added
launch,
throughout the year.
probably.
Since launch, because there was like,
launch, yeah.
because they added like the adrenaline guy. They've added the.
That's my favorite, by the way.
The guy with like the green jacket. There's Watson, and there's somebody else that I'm definitely missing. I think.
Yeah, the new guy,
hacker guy.
Yeah, which I also tried playing as. Was a big fan.
Yeah, so I think they're doing really well. I think Fortnite definitely pegged them back and started to build itself and improve itself as a game itself. But Apex Legends did a really good job and is a fantastic battle royale shooter if you want to play something different. If you want to play something a bit more tactical and a bit more shooting based, if that makes sense, where you don't have to worry about the building shit from Fortnite, you can just run out and just shoot things and play the game that way, then
I'll tell you, I definitely feel like Apex Legends is the Overwatch of Battle Royales because of the hero.
Yeah, it's just because of the hero element. Correct. Just because of the becoming a hero shooter element. And I think they really incorporated that hero element really well into that game. I think they've got some really well thought out characters that abilities can be used in really interesting ways. And it's always interesting to see. There's some characters that you play that you're just going to be like, this is a shit. Like Caustic, I think his name is. He's like the big dude that puts barrels down. And Caustic? No, it's not Caustic.
That guy's fucking ridiculous if you know how to play him.
If you know, but he's one of those characters where I'm like, you know, I use it and I feel like shit. I don't know how to use his abilities. But if you watch people that have put time into the character, it's like, fuck, this guy's amazing. What the hell? I've
been baited into rooms and had fucking 10 toxic barrels explode and I've just died instantly. I'm like, well, that was fun. That was great. Very good.
Or the best is you go into the room and then you get locked in because a barrel is in front of the door. And then the map slowly goes across you.
Thanks, everyone. That was fun. That was a good time. Also, that character should be banned in the current limited time mode, the train one, because everyone picks that character and just puts all the toxic barrels inside the train, and then you just land there and all these toxic barrels just start exploding. I'm like, well, this is fun, everyone. This is fun, isn't it?
You just don't jump on the train unless you make sure.
Yeah. Motherfuckers. Anyway, Apex Legends, 2 votes so far. Explosion Airwings Game of the Year. Ash, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Untitled Goose Game.
Quack.
Not just because there's a great title. It's a fun puzzle game that is just joyous to see the reception that it received on release, especially after we were pumped about it last year when we saw it at PAX and that kind of thing. It was really happy to see people talking about it constantly, it doing amazing sales-wise, seeing people cosplaying as the Goose at PAX and other events is cool.
I've got official merchandise now.
You've got official merch now.
You got some of the t-shirts, or do you have the sock?
It's had Muppet videos now. I mean, it's a phenomenon. But yeah, it's an enjoyable experience. And, you know, who doesn't want to be an asshole goose? At least for a little while.
And you can see it's doing really well. For such a small team, for that game now to be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox being on the Xbox Game Pass is it's really good. It's really heartwarming to see a team succeed.
My number 8 is What the Golf? So this is the only game all year that made me laugh, I believe. Unless something might have got a small laugh out of me, I don't know. But this game was surprisingly funny. And somehow its ridiculous premise did not wear off after an hour. And it consistently kept being so ridiculous that it kept off its funny the entire time. So I played it on my phone. You can get it on PC as well.
I think it's on Epic Game Store.
I think it's on Epic Game Store. It might be on Steam now. I don't know if it was a limited time thing. But either way, it's on PC some faction, or you can play it on your phone like I did. Apple Arcade, of course, is where it is. But it's a golf game made by people who hate golf. So you start the game.
Most people.
Yeah, most normal people. You start the game with like weird objects that you're golfing. Like, I mean, literally the first level starts as like a normal golf game, and I'm sure playing it on PC is a bit different, but on your phone, you just like drag back on the screen, you know, like your little power meter, select which direction you're going to hit the golf ball, and you hit the golf ball, but as soon as you let go of it, instead of the golf ball moving, your club goes flying through the air. So it's like within the first level, you're like, oh, so this is a bit different. Like, and then by the time you get to the end of that game, it's taking you through some shit, man. Like, I really don't want to spoil it because, like, I think the reason it's so good is because you're like, okay, I get the joke. Like, you go into the next level and you're fucking controlling literally the person hitting the ball. Like, you take back the meter and you're expecting the club to go flying through the air, but next second the person does. You're like, oh yeah, very funny. You think it's going to wear out. Like, how much of this could they do? Okay, now it's a chair. Now it's a fucking car. Like, what other inanimate objects are we going to be able to hit here? But they literally changed the core gameplay mechanic several times. And without going too deep into it, at one point it becomes like a side scroller. At some point it goes into like a first person shooter kind of. I don't know how to like fully explain the game. There is a quote unquote story, I guess. Like you're exploring this underground weird like Portal-esque laboratory where all these golf experiments were happening for some reason. And there is a boss fight at the end of the game as well. So it's quite weird. But yeah, I played through it in like less than 24 hours. Like I started it one morning before work, and then as soon as I got home from work, I just wanted to keep playing because I'm like, why am I addicted to playing this fucking stupid golf game? And I just kept playing it through the finish, and I was like, yeah, I had a great time. And then looking back on the games for a year, I was like, you know what? That golf game is really standing out to me among the list here, and I think it's just because it is like the only game where I was like, what the fuck? What the golf? Like literally, what the golf is this fucking game? It's ridiculous. So I suggest everyone plays that. If you got an iPhone, play it there. Go PC, play it there. I don't know which is better because I haven't played both, but I had a great time playing it on my phone. And I also think some of the weird switching the gameplay styles work funny on my phone because I'd be playing it like holding my phone up directly like normally, and then I'd go into a level and suddenly it'd be like, oh, it's a side scroller, and I'm turning my phone sideways to begin playing it a different way. So I kind of liked how I was having to move my phone around to react to different ways to play the game as well. Yeah. Kieran, what is your number 7?
As a minor point, and it's a side effect of me coming back to Arcade Couch as, you know, a regular member again. If it warms your heart, when reading through the list of games that I could possibly, you know, choose from for 2019, when I got to What the Golf in several lists, I did in fact hear you say What the Golf. I didn't hear it in my voice. I read it in Dylan's voice every time. So that's the impression you've left on me, and hopefully our audience with that game.
There you go.
But my number 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 7. My number 7 is Jedi Fallen Order. Ashley has already commented it. I think I'm in a bit of a different point of it in it for two different reasons. I think one, I haven't played the game enough to get over and get frustrated with its mechanics or some of the problems with the game. I'm only like a third of the way in. But also, I think this year I have... It came at a very opportune time for it because I was at probably...
Not opportune enough.
Not opportune enough. but the opportune moment for me to be passionate or to be very interested in it, it's on my list of games that I'm going to finish as part of my board, is because it came at this moment of me being really interested in Star Wars because of us doing Order on Explosion, because me reading the book and preparing for the next book, where I jumped into it and I was really interested in exploring the landscapes and exploring the different types of creatures and the different bits of lore that's in that game, even if it's not great in some elements of, I've already made comments about I don't like how it represents or looks at, the force powers in this game because it's kind of dumb in some spaces, but I do really enjoy
it. The movie was done with Force 2, so...
Well...
Sorry, I'll shut my mouth.
Have you developed like an uncontrollable tick?
It's like Tourette's.
It's like Tourette's, but about Star Wars.
I've never been so disappointed in my life.
But I think for me, even exploring this is the first Star Wars game I've played after watching through the majority of Clone Wars that I then went, fuck, Dathomir, this is really cool, blah, blah, blah. And then it kind of hints, it hints at different stuff about that storyline. And I'm like, oh, cool, this is really interesting. And I like the lore aspects. I like the Jedi Order and learning about that from that point of view. So I think it's a bit higher up on my list because of that, because I haven't put the time into, throw a controller through a window or anything yet with it. I think it is definitely a game. I don't know if I think I already have lowered its difficulty, so that's a thing.
Put that shit on the lowest difficulty. I think it's called story mode, and just fucking ram it through to the finish.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Star Wars games should not be hard anyway. IMO.
Yeah. It's just, and actually, I've really enjoyed so far the Metroidvania aspects of the game. I've enjoyed exploring in that game. Like the more open, even though the maps are still,
The map's terrible.
Garbage.
Yeah.
The map's not good at explaining where to go and stuff and how to get there, but I'm enjoying exploring and looking at places, and still those moments of, oh, yeah, I should come back. I'm getting to the realization in that game that I'm never going back to these places. I'm just going to play through the story and finish it, but yeah, it's still a decent attempt at a Star Wars game. Dylan disagrees, but
No, I was going to say is I wasted half my life trying to play through that game on the hard difficulty before I knocked it down to Jedi Knight or whatever the fuck it is. So if you're like Jedi Knight's bit of a pain in the ass, I would not feel bad about just dropping it to fucking story mode. Because I fucking died about 20 times even on Jedi Knight doing the last boss fight. So good times. Ash, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is Tetris 99. I mean, we joked about all the different Battle Royale games we get in 2019. We didn't expect Tetris, but maybe it's the best one of the lot. I mean, it's Tetris, but like competitive. I mean, it's so fun. It's so rewarding. I mean, it's not great when people like stacking all on you at the same time. But other than that, I mean, you feel really good and you feel like put yourself against other people in a game that is like one of the pillars of the game industry. So I had a good time.
Turning and stacking on you it's a great representation of the battle royale genre as a whole, because it's just like you drop in a section of the map where maybe 5 or 6 other people have dropped, and instead of fighting each other, they all turn and come after you for some reason.
Sometimes it does feel like that. So
it's a very common thing. Yeah. So it's really interesting that Tetris 99 can instill that fear into you with just little colored blocks.
So
it's crazy Nintendo Online subscription game, and they're still adding new stuff that you can buy DLC for.
It's no longer free to play. Like you have to have Nintendo Online.
No, it's free. No, it was never free to play. You always had to.
Was it?
You always had to have
online.
Nintendo Online to play it. It was free. It was like
I
a
thought- 'cause
PS
I
Plus,
thought-
game.
which is $29 a year.
Yeah, no, I always thought that it came out prior to the Nintendo Online subscription, so that
I think there's a free version now where you can just play, single player or something. I don't know how it works out now, but they added something
Yeah.
recently that I can't.
Fair
I
enough.
haven't gone back
There's
to
a
it.
bunch of different DLCs you can get play against people who have won games before.
Yeah, there's a rank mode
None
thing
of
now,
us.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put this on my list, so I'll just say now. I'm really happy that this made to number 1 spot on our top 5 most addictive games list, because I'm pretty sure this is the only game this year that I've literally just been like Apex. I've done a little bit of like, just one more game.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I would be laying in bed and just be like, fuck it, all right, no, that was a shit game. No, that was a shit game. Well, I got to 3rd. I shouldn't try and win one more game. So 4th, at least got to beat 3rd, like one more game. You know, like I was just really, really
Eventually
addictive.
I'll play against people who suck. Yeah.
Eventually it'll happen. That first week that this came out, I was like, I literally just put Tetris as my number 1 game of 2018. And when this came out, I was like, am I fucking picking Tetris 99 as my game of the year at the time? Because like when this came out, I was like, what? Nothing else had grabbed me at the point, but I was like, it'll be fucking weird if I'm picking Tetris as my game of the year every single goddamn
2 years in a row, yeah.
2 years in a row. But I mean, Tetris, man. So,
Can't go wrong.
no, you can't go wrong. Let's see what Tetris comes out next year. Can't wait to find out. My number 7
Tetris
is...
Auto Battler, please.
Oh, you would play it, though. You would play it. My number 7 is Ape Out, which came out early in the year as well. I think the game is... I don't really know how to... So, in case you don't know, Ape Out is like a top-down isometric game in which you play as an ape.
No, it's just top down. It's not isometric.
I mean, I feel like it switches at some point to be like sort of isometric.
Does it?
I think so.
I've only seen the hilarious gameplay Dash from Dash Gaming.
We'll just go top down. It's a top-down ape game in which you play as an ape who's escaping a cell where it's been locked up, and the whole thing of the game is literally just to escape. It's got a really unique art style, but what makes the game stand out is its use of music and the combination of that with the gameplay, because you literally kind of end up playing the game like a rhythm music game nearly. But like you're not playing to the beat, but you're kind of creating the music. And then that kind of envelops you into this when you like have headphones in, you put headphones on, you kind of zone out and you play the game. And it's just like the music and everything kind of becomes one, because and like just from a development standpoint, I love how the game was designed, because it has like this music that's been created for it that has like this kind of backing beat that starts playing. And like when you first break out, it's like like hot beat, like tempo drops to like 120.
Yeah.
And then like you start creeping out, it's like, you know, we're sitting at like a tempo of 60.
Very jazz influence.
It's like very jazzy influence, like, and it constantly swings and changes. And I just love how it does it. Like, and you're like creepy, like you're like on like 60 tempo or something like that. And as soon as you come around the corner, you spot a dude, security guard or something that's about to shoot you, and you slam him against the wall. Suddenly it's like bang, bang, slash. You like all the cymbals start coming in, and then like people are chasing after you. The tempo is just like, all right, we're at 180 now, like we're going. And then every single time you hit someone as the ape, it like, you know, like cymbal crash, like across this thing. Like I loved it. I've never seen a game combine music that literally changes and plays every single time you play it, because unless you play the level the exact same way, but I mean, it's always kind of going to change and feel unique. So, I mean, it's really fun gameplay wise. It's like the controls are simple as fuck, but that's what makes it unique. You can either just hit people as the ape, you can pick them up and like chuck them or whatever else. It's quite gory at times, but it's like cartoony gory, because you're like slam a dude's body across the wall, like blood will go everywhere. You're like, oh, whatever, fuck you. It was like, keep me as a prisoner anyway. And then the levels are also laid out as like records, level select screen. So like each one's like a separate song list kind of thing. Yeah, it's just really, really unique game from a art point and from like a music point. Definitely stands out as one of 2019's best to me. What year is it? What the golf?
2019. Interesting year for music. Between that and Untitled Goose Game, which also does interesting things with music.
It does. It's similar, but I similar in that the tempo.
But this is more passive, whereas that's more. It feels like you're influencing the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ape Out definitely does get the feel of you're the jazz musician jamming with some other people, and it's kind of just like constantly like swinging and changing and whatever.
Yep, they should call it a guerrilla jazz game, and more people would get.
More people would have brought it.
Be like,
let down. Kieran, what is your number 6?
My number 6. Oh God, my phone, my closed. My notes closed. Panic!
What's your passcode? Say it out loud.
Overwatch.
I just used my finger on my thing and it opens.
Yeah, I use my face. That's my passcode. So
I can't. Doesn't work. You know. Just I don't know. It's pretty cool that it gets the imprint of your face. So, this is a video podcast. Anyway,
It is.
Division 2 is my game of the year. Not game of the year. It's my number. It's my number 6. It is
My
6
game of
steps
the year at number 6.
It's my 6 steps away from it. It is a game that I forgot came out this year until I was reading up. This is a game, and it's something I regularly do with these types of games, where I think I smashed this the first weekend it came out, the first week it came out. Got like a max level character before the game really opens up and changes into the proper game, and then didn't go back until like a month ago. But for what it was, I had a really fun time with it. It was really good. I remember enjoying the first division. So jumping into this one, I really liked the landscapes of this. Playing in Washington had a real variety of interesting maps, and to see, because of the difference in time periods of when this game sets up in this world, having the some of like the natural environments that have kind of overtaken public landmarks and different places, it was really interesting to walk through. And there's a really eerie feel you get walking through the streets in a Division game that I really love and I really enjoy. I think there's a lot to uncover that game that I didn't, which is an on-running theme. Or a side effect from me getting addicted to Overwatch. But I still really enjoyed it. It has really tight mechanics. Like, it has really tight shooting. It has one of those games, and you can always remember there's games that give you memories are always fantastic games. I have a memory of...
Games that give you memories are really fantastic games. What a box.
They are!
I know.
They are!
I know.
They are. They're fantastic. And the things that you can look back to, and I remember, like, Division 2 makes me remember of me and a friend playing through a mission, and we didn't realize that about 3/4 of the way through, the mission glitched out. And it was, we go into this office room, and we're supposed to fight somebody, but instead of fighting someone, they became like a ghost, and it looked like they were like hung up in like the cables and the roof. And we were like frozen, and I was like, is there some kind of supernatural element to this game that we've just discovered? And the screen flashed a couple times, and then we loaded back out as if nothing happened. And it wasn't until like a day later I found out this was an ongoing bug in the game. But I was like scared. I was like, it was a very weird experience, but it was one of those things that gives me a really good memory, and I've really enjoyed playing that game and putting time into that game. And even if I only play a game for a weekend, or say I only played a game for a weekend, that probably doesn't give it the right feel to it, because I did get a max level character, so I did put in a decent amount of time into playing that game constantly through that weekend. But it was just really enjoyable clearing the map, and yeah, it's a great game. Go check it out. It's especially, Ubisoft are doing that fantastic thing where they do fantastic support for their games. So I think their year 2 content is just getting even better and changing up, and yeah, it's going to be good.
Ash, what's your number? What are we on? 6?
My number 6 is Pokemon Shields. I haven't played a Pokemon game for a few generations, and it just felt like going back home. Just that comfort game. You just can go beat up a bunch of other people's Pokemon.
Wow.
Really
No. Can you say that
when you
sentence with
put it down to it? But yeah, I really enjoy the things they've introduced, either this generation or that since I last played it. None of the gyms are just you walk around and then you run into a bunch of trainers. They're all got this special puzzles or interesting elements that you need to
What was the
compete.
last Pokemon game you played?
It's got to be like it's got to be like gold or silver,
Like
right?
ruby, silver, sapphire.
Like ruby. Yep. So
Yeah.
just after that, they started to make gyms interesting.
Yeah.
Well, they always had like slight puzzle elements, but I feel like there's more spectacle to the gyms now, where you're fully going into like a full-on stadium each time,
Oh, that's a new
hitting
thing.
them like in front of a
for
massive
this.
crowd. Yeah, so fuck you. And then like
Which,
the
by the
job
way,
system.
that song, I have to give my 2 cents. That song, I love it so much.
Yeah.
The song that plays in the gym bells, and the people in the crowd start like chanting, and like, what? It sounds like fucking Dark Knight Rises Bane music.
Yeah, and then like simple stuff like jobs, you can send your Pokemon away to get XP and that kind of thing. The wild area is really cool, where you can like just be able to see the Pokemon, I guess, adds a fair bit to the experience of it. We speculated that that wasn't going to be a thing, but it is a full-on thing. You can they've introduced that element from the Let's Go games into the base game, and it works really pretty well, even though you can still get surprised by Pokemon, like that kind of thing, like, and you won't know, it'll be revealed for the first time, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. My Inteleon is like 10 levels too strong, so it just powers through everybody, but I'm still having a good time.
Good stuff. Pity you got Shield, though, you know.
Yeah, you got the shitty.
What are you talking about?
Of the two.
Fuck Sword Boy.
How
Makes no sense.
Well,
He's gonna get the sword stuck everywhere.
He's gonna get the sword stuck everywhere. How does a guy with a giant shield sticking out of his chest gonna
Just
fit
moves
through
to the side.
doorways? How is he gonna fit
Yeah,
through
at
doorways?
least he's not chopping down trees. He's going through the forest.
How is he gonna fit through two trees that have grown a little bit too close together?
He's a mystical dog. He can walk around.
he drops
He's a mystical swordsman. He can put the sword anywhere he needs to.
Yeah, you should put it in the sheath. That's where you should put it.
He does.
He does.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
No.
You can't put the shield away.
You don't know.
can
You
put
didn't,
the
buy,
sword
you
away.
didn't buy the right game. You don't know what happens.
You don't know.
All right. My number 6 is Goose Game. Untitled Goose Game. That's where I've got Goose Game. Just above the old Ape out. I mean, it's Goose Game. I feel like there's not much to say, obviously, because it's like we've spoke about it a lot. Obviously, as soon as the game was revealed, I was like, this is amazing. I want it. And then lined up for an hour to play it at PAX. Well worth the time. It was hilarious. It was. I think at PAX, it's like a ruling. Like, was it worth lining up for an hour? How much time did you spend talking about it? A fair bit. That was probably worth lining up for an hour. Like, you got.
It was a good investment.
It was a good
time
investment in
looking back
time,
at-
you know. And I feel really good that I've got my PAX Goose badge up on my
Badge,
pass. You know, that holds up. I'm sure that's worth like $200 these days with the way Goose Game's shot up in popularity. I got my Goose
eBay
shirt.
after this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to sell it. I got my Goose shirt in the mail the other day. That's really good. So I can now rep the official merchandise. It's a great game. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's got great music. Goose Game's great. Karen, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a game I would never have played if it wasn't for this podcast. Because I purchased this game while we were recording the podcast, while Dylan was talking about it, because he made such a...
You know what they call me, Karen? Do you know what they call me in the real world?
What do they call you?
An influencer. Right?
An influencer.
An
An influencer.
Influencer. Yeah.
Clearly, the
Dylan
wrong
Blight.
people are calling you an influencer because it's not working.
But this is a kind word.
But you just said you didn't play Concrete. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I know. You just if you didn't, you know, kind words. Which it's a very intimate game, and something that is very different from your normal game. But for me, it stuck out for me because, like, so it's not something I've talked about much ever. But especially like later in this year, I've realized that I do have some form of anxiety and some form of that in my life that I've always dealt with and I've never really acknowledged. And so I remember that first night I bought it while we recorded the podcast. We got off the podcast. I then sat there reading and writing letters for the next like 2 hours.
It's oddly relaxing.
Like really just kind of like, I think I had like no lights turned on in my house, like nothing. It was just like the computer screen just with the lo-fi music playing through. It's incredibly relaxing. It's really interesting. And not only can you put on your own you put in your own like letters and stuff that people can answer to and help with. But even just answering other people's notes was always really interesting and almost reflective for me. And just the fact that, I was explaining to somebody about it at work who doesn't play games, and she was like, so what stops people from just being douchebags on this game? And I was like, it's just not really a thing.
People hadn't heard of it yet. I will pause you there and say that after the Game Awards, because obviously they had a whole trailer and stuff like showing off the game there. People then tried to, as they do, because people are dicks, people apparently jumped, I was reading a Kotaku story, people jumped into kind words and were trying to be dicks in the game, but the developer was just like shutting them down as fast as they could and just like banning people left, right, and center, like without a second thought. Like, someone's like talking bad and they're like, oh, kill yourself. It's like, banned. There's no second chances on this game. Like, you're fucking banned. So,
yeah. It's just really well looked after, and I think it's just an experience that if you ever have, a couple, it's not even that expensive. It's like a couple dollars just to chill out and just, be connected with people. And there's another game that I'm sure all three of us will talk about later in this list that is all about connections and building those connections. And I think Kind Words does that in a really different and really interesting way. So, definitely check it out if you need something to chill out to.
Yeah, I had Kind Words at 11. I originally had it at 10, then I switched it for Kitana Zero because I was like, I don't know, can't decide which one I want to talk about more. And I was like, which one? I don't know. It's like Katana Zero is more of a. I don't know. It was a struggle. Anyway, I can second the Kind Words is a weird, interesting game. And also the music, like the full title, I think is actually just Kind Words and Lo-Fi Beats to something to relax to or something is like the full title of the game. So like it's literally that whenever you go for YouTube and you see like lo-fi hip hop beats or lo-fi video game soundtracks or something, it's like that's the game, but you're just riding ladders at the same time.
Also, just in general, if you want to be like the most productive you've ever been, just chuck on that lo-fi channel and just fucking you're away. You're just relaxed and going, and it's really good. So definitely.
Ash, number 5.
My number 5 is the connection game that Kieran was talking about, Kingdom Hearts 3.
The debate.
Wow.
I mean, it's astounding, this game that actually came out for a start. I mean, and it does feel like the last 2 mainline games that everybody played. Obviously, there's some other games that have come out that influence the story of this game, but I think for the most part, it is understandable. You can follow along as long as you maybe just watch the video that they have in the archives or whatever before you start playing. But I had a blast playing it. It was fun going into all the different worlds. Even though Tangled and Frozen are like beat for beat the same story, they look incredible. Some would argue even better than the actual movie versions. But then all the Pixar and other worlds that have their own individual stories, it feels like tiny little short stories in those worlds. And then you get into that third act, and it is crazy. It is bonkers. And it has some of the best moments of the year in there. And it is super satisfying. And, just the soundtrack, the cutscenes, the friggin' hype video at the start of the game. Freaking incredible.
That hype video is pretty fucking dope. I'm not even that. I was, even though it was number 10, I remember loading that game and watching that hype video the first time. I was like, yes, fucking, all right, let's go.
That song, the Skrillex / I can't remember her fucking name. Kadaiku Utada? Something. Whatever. That song, though, was my number 1 most played on Spotify this year.
Was it really?
Yeah, I could not stop it. Like once Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I could not. No, not even before the game came out, because they released that song like a week or 2 before the game released, and I would not stop listening to it for like months. I would just loop it.
Yes,
it was my hype reel, like hype anthem. That fucking song. What's her name?
Face My Fears by Hikaru Utada and Skrillex.
Yeah, yeah. So I can tie in here because my number 5 is also actually Kingdom Hearts 3, so that works out quite well. the game is a mess, and in a lot of ways, it's is a trash pile on fire. But I feel like for fans of the franchise, it's perfect in so many ways, and it's just like it's the weirdest thing because it is like the game has so many weird problems and issues, and a lot of that comes down to stuff which I've talked about before, like how disjointed its storyline feels, especially compared to other games where it's like you start the game, you get a little bit of like setup story, and it's like play through Disney World, play through Disney World, play through Disney World, and then like all of the story, like the Kingdom Hearts story, is saved for that final act. And the final act really feels like a completely different game because it's just so heavy with story and like what the fuck is going on, you know. But as Ash said, I would also agree. Like if I'm thinking about like amazing gaming moments, and I mean 2 Kingdom Hearts moments got in our top 5 gaming moments of the year, so I feel like that says something surely for like what's happening. And I also, the end of that game ruined me for like forever. I was ruined. I was literally ruined. And I would go online and I'd find YouTube videos of other people, either on Twitch, like playing the game or just like doing Let's Plays. I would watch their final video. I would watch them react to the end of the video. I would watch them cry to it. And then I would cry too. And then I'd watch another one and they would cry and I would cry. And I just kept crying and watching people cry over it because I was like, fuck, this is, we're just all in one big sads at the moment. So it's,
yeah.
It's something, but Kingdom Hearts is weird, lovely, horrible, fucking nonsense franchise.
So weird.
But like, if you get it and if you like it, I definitely feel like specifically the last third of this game is just like major payoff and just this wacky nonsense thing that happens especially because we've been building towards it for 10 years and you finally get to the point where it's like the big war's happening without going into too big spoilers, but it's like the thing we've been building towards for so long actually happens finally. And of course,
the two sides face off.
Yeah, the two sides finally face off, and the way they tie it all together is left open. Of course, there's going to be another game and whatever else,
and DLC
and whatever else. But it feels like if Infinity, the most I can relate it to is like if the Infinity War chapters, like of course there's more Marvel movies, but that's like that chapter finished. I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 is kind of the end of that sort of chapter of Kingdom Hearts, and now
it's like the end of the Skywalker saga.
No, because it's not bad.
Why would you bring that up? You're going to set off one of his ticks.
That's what I was going for.
Without big spoilers, because I can say without which characters, there's literally a point at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 where 2 characters wipe a chessboard clear and then like reset up the pieces with some minor changes to literally visually show you, the player, that like another game's coming, except for we're starting a new game of chess now. You know, if the last 10 years or whatever was this game of chess that we've been seeing playing out, here's the second one coming. So, but I mean, it has a lot of problems. It's at number 5 because of those problems. But like when it comes down to the story and the emotional beats and the character beats and all these sorts of things, the music, Skrillex, like, yeah.
Jake,
also,
honestly,
you should go back and watch or listen to our review discussion on Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, went deep.
Yeah, honestly, I would get
Real
through
deep.
more of that game. I would have played through more of that game if the rides weren't a thing.
Why? The rides are great.
The rides
you can just
were
not
really,
use them.
Yeah, you don't have to use them.
I have to use them because they're right there, and I hadn't learned that you could switch between the different things on the triangle.
Well,
What's
now
wrong
you
with the
know, so
rides?
you can.
Because it's like this between 2 fights are like 30 seconds apart, I'll have like the same ride appear and I'll do it and I'll be like, I'm getting really over
I
this
understand that.
ride cinematic.
Some of them are not great.
Yeah, but they're
like,
good AoE damage, so.
They're good AoE damage, but after a point, I've seen the ride happen too many times and I'm like...
You can skip the cutscenes.
You see Sora swing his Keyblade a bunch of times. You don't get sick of that.
But you
That's
can
a
skip
little
the
different.
cutscenes.
Can you really?
Yeah.
And still do all the damage?
Yeah, you can skip the cutscenes and it'll cut.
No, you can skip the cutscene. The ride mechanic will still be the same.
Yeah, but you can skip the cutscene that takes like 30 seconds. So,
But the ride mechanic's still kind of in the cutscene that I'm like,
yeah. We can't defeat the part where it's literally you controlling the ride, going around killing enemies. That has to happen.
Not just...
What's your number?
So again, just handicap yourself.
Yeah. Number 4.
Number 4. God damn it! I locked my phone again. I was too interested in talking.
dare you.
Well, just riff a little bit, guys.
King's password. He's got to put in the
Kingdom
vibe
Hearts.
769.
Okay, there we go.
I mean, you should at least finish Kingdom Hearts 2 before you start Kingdom Hearts 3 anyway. So.
You should finish Kingdom Hearts 2. You should finish Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
I
You should
watched
finish
all of Kingdom Hearts
0.2, Chain of Memories.
Fuck off, Dylan.
Play the mobile game. That's
Play the
important.
mobile game. That is actually super important. It's fucking nuts. Oh, I haven't played that one. I just watch YouTube videos of the plot because fuck playing that game.
My game number 4, which I still haven't finished. And part of me have actually put me finishing this on hold, maybe until it's going to be a long time because it's until Dylan and me get there to play it through them together.
It's Gears 5.
Is Gears 5? Yeah, definitely. I think Gears 5. I've played the first half, or where it starts to open up a lot. Gears 5 is very different in terms of it opens up the world a lot. It gives you a lot more choice. Its basic story, like gameplay mechanics, are still the same, but it does open up and give you more variety and more choice in the gameplay. I think Laura Bailey does an amazing job in this game of letting you play as a main character that doesn't fit into the standard cookie cutter for Gears of War characters, because Gears of War characters are generally
I'm a
large,
bro, dude. I got muscles.
muscle-bound men with 0 necks, like in massive power armor, just killing shit. Which, don't get me wrong, I fucking love that shit. But it's really interesting to see this side of the story and to see her story play out. Gears of War for me is is a franchise very close to my heart. I really love the original trilogy. I really enjoyed the story they told in Gears 4. It's always a bit of a shame that, especially a little bit with these games, or it might be a Microsoft thing where with their big franchises, they're always playing for a big, a trilogy of games or a set of 3 games, and they don't really always focus on there being a fulfilled story being played out in these. And yes, I can't comment for Gears 5, but they did the same thing with the Halo games, with Halo 5 having an ending that left it at a very particular spot that was like, oh, we're waiting for the next Halo game now. Gears 4 was very much the start of another trilogy, almost like the most recent Star Wars trilogy. It was introducing new characters, bringing in the old characters.
So is this like Last Jedi, or is it like Force Awakens?
No, this Gears of War 5 is Last Jedi. And now we've got to wait for Gears of War 6, which is Rise... No, I'm not even going
Skip it.
Just skip it. But as a whole, I think it does a really good job of not only bringing the franchise forward, updating the franchise, and bringing the franchise to a new group of people, but it does a good job of keeping those who fell in love with the franchise, still keeping them in mind when playing the game.
Ash. 4.
My number 4 is Apex Legends.
Whoa. So
Whoa,
hard.
first-person shooter getting this far up
Buddy
in Ash's list.
hates first-person
Holy shit.
shooters. Ashley Hobley has Apex Legends at number 4.
It's just a testament to this game. I mean, I'm sure it helped that there was like nothing out at the time. That I just found myself constantly playing it.
You sure did.
Every night, just jumping in. I think especially I'd played Fortnite in bits and pieces. I've jumped back into Fortnite for different events since for content on this
Dylan,
chat.
did you jump into Fortnite for a recent event?
No.
Did you try to?
Yes.
Yeah. But that is almost unplayable now because of how good Apex Legends is and how superior it is. Just vaulting over stuff is it's infuriating in Fortnite not being able to jump over stuff. And then just being able to play a role, because I'm not very good, just being able to like heal people or like throw grenades and shit. It's just feeling useful and being able to be part of the team. Even just be able to ping other people's locations and feel like I'm contributing to the...
I feel like those are two very things that are opposite ends of a
know,
spectrum.
healing people,
and
grenades.
throwing grenades and shit. It's like...
I mean, yeah, I've just had some cool stories and event things that happened playing with other people. One of my favorites is I was playing with 2 Kiwi school kids. We were blathering onto each other the entire time, telling each other what they should and should be doing. And then right before the end, one of them had to go because he had a parent-teacher interview.
Ashley's Ashley can't really connect with him. He's like, it's been way too long since I was in school.
I mean, and then we got the win. So
did you just stay really quiet throughout that entire?
No, I don't. My headphones didn't have a mic, so I just off mic, just listening to these two little kids.
It's a good thing Apex, like Respawn, designed that game for people like you that don't want to talk on a mic but can still communicate with their team.
Yeah, it's great. So Apex Legends, again, been doing great work all year. Sure, there was a bit. I dropped off like everybody else did, kind of after the first halfway through the first battle season. But yeah, dropping in every now and then to play a couple of rounds is still fun.
Mm-hmm. My number 4 is Life is Strange 2, Season 2, however you want to call it. I mean, it's actually called Life is Strange 2, to be fair. Obviously, the first episode came out in December.
Disqualified.
Yeah, no, it can't be disqualified. It's on our fucking official top 10 list. I mean, if you have to pick this between being a 2019 game or a 2018 game, I think it's a 2019 game, so it's fine.
Game Awards.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to get into that, but it was weird how they had episode 1 nominated last year, and this year they nominated the full thing. Anyway, I really, really like season 2. I think it's underplayed. I think there's a weird thing with how underplayed it was, and I can't decide if it was to do with the release schedule or because the characters weren't as relatable for most people, like to grab onto. And in a lot of ways, and I wrote an article, explosionhour.com, kind of voicing my thoughts on this out there, but I find it weird how I really just think that for the first season, even if people won't say this out loud, I definitely feel like the shtick of high school teen girls was, even if you weren't a high school teen girl, it was just more easy to get into that story rather than Mexican brothers on the run kind of thing. I feel like it just wasn't going to grab as much people's attention, which, I mean, how it turned out, but I think it's...
I'd argue the other thing that maybe is that in Life is Strange 1, you were the person with the powers, whereas in the second one, you're not.
That is a good point. In this one, you are playing the pseudo father role as the brother of the kid with the powers, which means that all of the decisions you're making are all around influencing the person with the powers who's a 10-year-old to use them wisely. And in a lot of ways, Life is Strange 2 plays out kind of like a more realistic and also more interesting, in my opinion, Chronicle, like the movie Chronicle, because that movie has an hour and a half to tell the story of like what happens if kids realistically got powers. Would they turn evil or good? Like how would they use their powers? And this game tells that, but on like a longer form scale and with more build up to its eventual, without big spoilers, final moments. But the whole journey was great. I think that this game is much better written than the first season. I still think there's some problems, but overall I think its handling of the material was at the same time it is heavy-handed, but it's like less clumsy with it. I feel like as much as I like Life is Strange 1, because every time I feel like I'm saying how good this is, I feel like I'm sounding like I'm shitting on the first one. And I'm not trying to, I'm just because I'm a big fan of all of like there's not a thing Life is Strange I dislike, in my opinion. Like, I like the first season, I like Before the Storm, I like Captain Spirit, I like this. I think they're all fucking fantastic games. I do think that this game is better on a writing level than the first Life is Strange, simply because Life is Strange 1, in my opinion, as much as I love those characters, was very much like, let's chuck 1,001 fucking things at the screen, like depression, anxiety, fucking like high school drama, like too many things that it got like kind of messy with handling them all. Whereas Life is Strange 2, for the most part, is very much like, this is a game about not superpowers and how a 10-year-old would handle those, and also racism in America. And for the most part, it very much sticks to its one strong theme and doesn't chuck in $1 million to like jumble the overall message. And yes, at times, and I discussed this with Nick on our last episode of Beyond the Strange, which of course, if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts, check out Beyond the Strange. ExplosionNetwork.com or youtube.com/ExplosionNetwork. I talked about how the way it handles the writing in the game is like very heavy-handed at sometimes, being like, this is a racist thing, like Trump's America, blah 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 blah. And me and Nick agreed on that point, but I said I think the reason it's very heavy-handed at times is because it wants people who are less open-minded to really get the fucking point, I feel. And that's why it does it. Like there's something that happens in the last episode that is very much hitting it on the head a bit, and it rides the line of becoming quite corny, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but for me, I understand what they're kind of happening here, but I feel like for other naive people, it might hopefully open their mind up to being a little bit less ignorant, I think is what they were kind of hoping for playing this game. But yeah, I think it's a really great game, and I hope more people play it now that it's all out and no one has an excuse of, oh, there's fucking too many episodes, blah, 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 blah. I was happy with the ending I got. It made me sad and happy at the same time. I feel like I got a very like medium ending where not the worst shit that happened. I loved how I could watch, it's got 7 endings, this fucking game. I watched all the other endings and I was like, they're all completely different. Like, you know how Telltale always used to say your decisions matter, and sometimes you'd be like, yeah but do they really? Like, this was...
But no.
Really?
Yeah, you always end up as Batman.
Yeah, this game with the ending, this game with the ending I got, and then like watching all the other endings, it was very much like, your decisions actually did matter, because like from what I got compared to like some of the really bad fucked up endings, I was like, how do people even get there? Like, how do you make those characters into that? Like, how do you reach that level? So yeah, Life is Strange 2 is great. Kieran, top 3 time. Number 3.
At my number 3, at quite an accurate point for it to be at, is Borderlands 3.
Thematic.
For me, I've really enjoyed this game. The story was not the greatest in this game. Like, the story isn't the greatest Borderlands story they've ever told. I think they were very much trying too hard to follow up the greatness that is Handsome Jack. And I think at the same time, they tried to use their main characters to satire the streaming and content creator environment of 2019. But at the same time, it was done in a really poor way that was just like, you know, coming off you speaking about Life is Strange, where you're like, yeah, it's pretty heavy-handed, but they kind of ride that line. Fucking like Borderlands 3 takes like a baseball bat with the satire of content creator written on it and like smacks you over the head with it endlessly.
Wow, Kieran. You know what Randy Pitchford would say to that?
What would he say to that, Ashley?
Why you would fuck me on this is beyond me. Thanks a lot. I'm pretty sure he would say that.
But despite that story problem, I really fucking enjoyed the time I spent with this game. I had 2 playthroughs of this game going on concurrently at the same time at launch. Because actually, no, maybe 3. No, 3 actually, because I started one by myself and got most of the way through. And then I played one with 2 other friends and got most of the way through. But then also, because one of those friends couldn't play with us all the time, me and the other friend just started another playthrough as different characters. And I was playing all these at the same time, and I was having such a good time with it. Like, so much fun of just leveling characters, picking out different builds for it, building towards a different playstyle for the character that maybe the one I've seen my friend play in the other playthrough. It still had great Borderlands characters in it. Despite the twins being this heavy-handed mess, some of the other characters are still really great. Even the characters that you're playing as have a lot more life to them and a lot more interesting. So to see that and to play that out, I've really enjoyed that game. And the fact that I could enjoy that game so much that I could play it at the same time, like play different versions of it at the same time, is really interesting and it's really good. And, you know, despite itself, I still can find it to be a very good game and still really enjoyable.
Very good. No one you can ever finish games just playing free at the same fucking time.
I know, right? That's my life right there.
Ash, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Teamfight Tactics.
There we go.
The League of Legends auto battler. I didn't think I'd be into auto battlers. Obviously at the start of the year. Obviously we didn't know auto battlers were going to be a thing this year. That kind of blew up right at the start of January. But I love it. It is the perfect amount of passive gameplay for me to be able to be binge watching something like Gotham and then be playing strategic moves and making different choices and that kind of thing and still be very effective and win games. Well, I feel like I'm multitasking. So I really enjoy that aspect just because I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can at the same time. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of strategy within the game that I find interesting, and just all the characters and champions in the game are really cool. And having a passing knowledge of League of Legends helped, obviously. I think like the drafting system as well is something that's kind of elevates it above the other ones. It makes you feel like you've got a chance of coming back even if you're like getting smashed early on. And then just even the little legend avatars, they actually serve a purpose in this game. You have to move them around to collect different things and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I played a ton I think they called it the first set before they did like a complete revamp recently with like the elementals thing, which I've been getting into recently, which has been sidetracking a lot of stuff I should be doing. But yeah, even got me to play a couple of games of League of Legends. I'm like, because when you load up the launcher, it's got this check bar of things you haven't done. I'm like, I could just play a game against the AI. Unlock that thing.
Meanwhile, Dylan and me are having memories of playing with Ashley a couple of times, and us being like,
I mean, I gotta admit, I fucking reinstalled League to play Teamfight Tactics, and I ended up playing several games of normal League as well when I was playing it. So.
Fucking hell.
It was around the time of Worlds, I think, as well, which they push everything really hard. So
it released like a couple of weeks before Kieran came down here, because I remember I was talking and was like, "Oh, what you been playing lately?" And I'm like, "I think I was up late last night just playing Teamfight Tactics, Kieran. I can't stop."
Yeah, it's got that one more turn thing as well.
It has a ridiculous.
The games are much shorter than some of the other ones. So.
Yeah, the games will go for like 20 minutes average, probably. I guess
20 minutes average. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it would get to like 11:40, and I'd like lose around horribly, and I'd be like, I can play one more, it's fine. Like, play one more. It's fucking 2 a.m. Fuck, like,
yeah.
What have I done tonight? Nothing. Oh my god. I wake up next morning like, you're a fucking piece of shit. You should have done work last night.
Did Ash just say you can multitask while playing this game?
Yeah, you can do it between moves. Type in your laptop.
But you just said it also was taking you away from things that you should be doing, actually.
Got him. Hook, line, and sinker. You want some behind the scenes knowledge?
Some things can happen at the same time.
Both
things can be true.
Behind the scenes knowledge thematically that fits perfectly with this is on yesterday, which as I'm recording, I'll fucking date this, who cares? As of recording, today's the 26th, right? Today's Boxing Day. Yesterday on Christmas Day, I'm fucking doing Explosion Network work because I have no life. And I like see that Ash hasn't wrote the part for our top 10 games list about Teamfight Tactics yet. I'm like, well, I'm not going to bother him on Christmas Day. So I do the whole Slack reminder, set it up so it'll go off for him today. I check like an hour before we start recording or whatever. I'm like, oh, he's posted that up. But how fitting is it that after saying how he can multitask and do all this stuff, the one thing he forgot to do was write about Teamfight Tactics.
Okay, writing at the same time is maybe not the best example.
Especially when we were supposed to
I need to fit in all this what do you want to watch content at some point.
What do you want to watch? What do you want to watch?
No, Teamfight Tactics is good, yeah. Good stuff. Addictive shit. Number 3, I have Concrete Genie, the only game Explosion Network's ever gave a 10 out of 10.
Ooh. A 10.
Hey, that 10 out of 10 made it to the trailer.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
A lot of promise stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Concrete Genie. Obviously, I go to 10. I think it's just like this perfect, for what it's trying to achieve, to be this rather short, and short, by short, I mean it's like 6 hours or whatever, like short for the type of game it is. Short for games these days, I guess.
For games in general.
The games in general. Like, and I finished it in one sitting. I stopped for like 40 minutes to have food at one point, but I came back and finished it. But I finished it in one day when I got it, and I just could not stop playing it because each new area would be like, oh, there's pretty stuff, there's stuff to collect, there's characters, blah, blah, blah. And then also just being able to, in 6 hours, collect everything, fuck around for a little bit, and then also finish the story. I just felt like I got a really good experience. And I think this is what I'm after in my gaming life, is like a nice mix of experiences like this where I can feel very fulfilled of not only story-wise, but also some miscellaneous material and whatever else. And then also a 100-hour RPG on the side. You know what I mean? Like, I really appreciate when a game comes along like this. But the story, I think, is really, really great. It's got these great characters. I mean, at the heart, it's about this kid who's getting bullied. And I mean, this is the opening cutscene. He's getting bullied at the start. These bullies come along. They rip up his storybook. He gets kicked onto this carriage thing, like a sky one. What do you call those? Like they go along the rails, like they carry through the air. Like I don't know what they're called. Anyway, he gets elevator type thing. Anyway, he ends up at the lighthouse. He discovers this magic wand. Paintbrush, and then also meets this genie and discovers that he's going to be able to paint things and they will come to life in the real world. And then from that point on, the game does this really, I feel like it just hits something perfect inside your mind or your body in general, which is you head back down to the town where the bullies are and you got to try and not be seen by them. And at the same time, you're literally just painting life back into town. The town is a abandoned, desolate, disgusting looking thing, and then you're literally going to paint objects on it and light it all back up and make it look really pretty. And then like an hour from that point on in the game, you're at like the opposite end of the city after achieving some objectives and whatever else. And I remember I climbed to this really high point and I was just like looking across the city and being like, look how pretty it is, look at all the things I'm drawing. And I think the thing that makes the game stand out to me is that everyone's just going to have their own unique experience of this, because you can choose what to draw on all the buildings out of like a selection of things. But for the most part, you still can variate what you're going to do. And then if you choose to care about what you're putting or not, I mean, that's up to you. I was silly, so every time I'm put a moon here, I'm going to put some grass, and I'm going to put some trees over here. Like I was being fucking weird about it, but I was having fun. And then the game's photo mode also has this really cool thing where you can literally like rewind time and you can see like the whole town like get covered up in your drawings through the photo mode, which is really unique and stuff. The story as heart is just this about I can't really say without spoiling it, but it's just like I really appreciated its take on what I thought was going to be a very stereotypical like, oh, here's the kid that's getting bullied and the bullies are bad and oh, he'll overcome something eventually and he'll show the bullies what's what and blah 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 blah. They have a different twist on that, and by the end of the game I was like, I like the message that this game is sending out, you know. So really enjoyed it. I think it's really pretty. It's really fun to play. Great story. Fantastic PlayStation exclusive of the year that everyone should play and not just buy and then not play. Number 2, Kieran.
Number 2, this game, had I played it when it came out, had I put enough time into it to have finished it, had I given it its due, would have been my number 1, and I know that for a fact. But I didn't, and it's Death Stranding. It was a game that I shit on a lot before it came out, just because, not even because of the game, but just because it was Hideo Kojima, and I was sick of all the trailers, and I was sick of the game not meaning anything or look like it made any sense. And, you know, I was like, I watched some on Twitch and it looked boring, so I'm not going to play this. And this happens a lot, and I think it shows almost how much respect I have for Ashley's opinion, not Dylan's, Ashley. No, no, I think it shows how much respect I have for the opinion of the other members of the Exposure Network when they were talking about it so highly and talking about it in depth that gave me a better understanding of what the game was and gave me what I was in for. Was very honest to say, look, the first 10 hours are going to suck. They're going to be terrible. And I can agree. I'm like 3/4 of the way through that 10 hours, and part of it's awful. I'm still enjoying it though. And then just playing the game, and I think it took me just until like there's a mission where you have to carry something up a mountain that in the story is very meaningful, and it's the first little inkling of what this game could be, of what it could mean, where it's like actually putting in the hard work and putting in the effort to get something that you care about to actually get it to where you want it to be is really powerful and really important. And I think, and I've barely got to got into the meat and the veg of this game, but I'm already starting to see the elements of connecting with people, of thanking people for helping you, of helping each other. You know, you see somebody else has started putting a bridge up and you go and build the rest of the bridge because you're like, fuck, it's going to help me. It's going to help other people. Thanking people for their work and, you know, just the little things like finishing a mission and on your way to the finish point of the mission, people will put little stickers that are like thumbs up or smiley faces to say, hey, you've done a good job. Keep going. It's those little things that make Death Stranding such a fantastic game. And that's even without me getting into the actual story of the game. So I'm interested and looking forward to when I go back to that game, to when I put time into that game. And I think it very much deserves to be at the high end of anybody's Game of the Year discussions this year.
Ash, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is The Outer Worlds. I had a great time playing this game. I think it's clearly the best RPG I think this year. Just spoilers. Yeah, I just the story kept me going along. The different storylines, the world was really interesting. I think I love Parvati. I think she's a great companion. She's clearly written very well. She's performed very well by Ashley Birch.
She's the best part of the game. Let's be honest.
She kind of is, yeah, and it is fortunate that she was the first companion you're introduced to, because
you can see looking back at that game, there was a lot more effort put into Parvati and her backstory. It's like somebody's been allotted an amount of time. They said, here's your amount of time to work on the companion side quests.
No, there was one person focused on Parvati. Like literally, there was someone who did the Parvati stuff, and then you know someone else did everybody else. Yeah, it was like
That's what felt like a little bit. They got to like towards their deadline, and then they were like, "Oh, by the way, you've got to do. Are you almost finished?" And they're like, "I've done one."
Okay. Well, the priest guy is just going to have an acid trip. That's his story. This guy's not. But no, yeah. Not many NPCs in games completely change your mind as to what you're going to do with a certain decision. But that's what Parvati did, like the start of the game. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a great time. One of the few games I finished this year. So it's got that going for it. Even though I felt the end was a little bit anticlimactic, that's purely because of the build I'd had.
Yeah.
And for being so great.
We got the same ending. We got the same ending.
A greater character that, it just breezed by. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Outer Worlds. I'm looking forward to Outer Worlds 2 coming to Game Pass.
They said they're doing DLC.
Game Pass is still a thing.
DLC. They're
doing DLC.
They announced DLC is coming early next year. So,
well, looking forward to DLC then.
Which is good, yeah. My number 2 is Control, which is a very hard game to explain. So here we go. It is the game. If you played Jedi Fallen Order and you were like, these Jedi powers are a little bit unfulfilling, go play Control. You can fucking float. You literally have the ability to force, levitate, and throw shit around the world pretty much very early in the game. And it feels a lot better than any of the stuff from Jedi Fallen Order. There's my review of Concrete Genie / Control.
Sorry?
No, the game.
You feel like a Jedi in Concrete Genie?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. No, Control is just like this really unique, obviously, story where you play as this. It's like the game. The game story is like told to you very weirdly. I guess I would call it art housey-ish, like the way it's presented to you and told and everything like that. But you start the game, you're entering this building, which you're explaining to you as like this sort of FBI for supernatural. And when you first walk in, you're like, okay, there's no one here apart from a janitor. That's a bit creepy. And you're like wandering around, exploring. You're like, it seems pretty normal. Head upstairs, find the current head of FBC or whatever. FBC. Walk inside. He's dead. Shot himself in the head. Blood all over the ground. That's great. You pick up his gun, get transported to another dimension, get tutorial on how to use the gun because the gun is a living weapon that's constantly moving and changing, and somehow seems to be talking to you from the Bureau control room, which is an imaginary being that's living like the game very quickly just goes from like, oh, this is like pretty normal to what the fuck is going on? What is happening in this goddamn game? So yeah, it's like from the get-go, it's like, I feel like if you're not open to reading intel, this game is going to be bad for you. And and that's one thing I've noticed over the month since I've finished playing it and talked about it on here originally, where I was saying this sort of stuff, I think. But one thing I have noticed over the last couple of weeks, where more people are talking about Game of the Year stuff, or people have started playing Control, because they're catching up on games as people do for games, movies, end of year time. I've seen so many people on Twitter be like, I tried to play Control, but found it like super boring, don't understand the story and all this sort of stuff. I don't know if I would say it's a full-on negative to say that a game relies on you actually reading and listening to its intel so much. I would say it's not, because it's actually written so well in this, and because of the way it's told. Like, it's not all just, some of it is like letters, like FBI typey letters, like here read this document sort of stuff. But then other stuff is literally like short stories within the world, and that's where like weird shit comes into play, like the whole tie-in with Alan Wake, which I'm just going to say now, because at the time I first talked about it, I was trying to be like, oh, hush, hush, because I didn't know if it was a spoiler. These days they're openly talking about it. This game is like directly, Alan Wake's in the game, so like that's a thing. Like you can find an Easter egg where you can literally see him appear in the game and all these sorts of things. So the game like ties into all that. So fucking nonsense there with Remedy's building their whole world. So there's not much I can say with story-wise without getting into spoilers at the end. I would also say that people find the ending anticlimactic, and I think that's because the game ends, but then kind of still expects you to go do some of the side mission stuff, which of course I did because I got the platinum and everything. But for people who don't do that, I guess it would feel somewhat anticlimactic. But then also from a gameplay perspective, it really is like my favorite Jedi game of the year. Like you get several different types of variations for your gun that you can kind of switch on the fly. So it's like a pistol, sniper, charged up shot, shotgun, like variations with different type of bullets and ways to switch. You can like set 2 to hotkeys at a time type thing. You can attach different attachments to them for like cooldown timers or like special effects and these sorts of things. And then when you get the ability to like basically fly through the world and levitate, and you're using one gun to like bang, 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 like shoot these dudes, and then you're like using the other trigger to like constantly just pull off cement blocks or like chairs from around the world and then like throw them at people. Like when it works, it's just like the most action fun I've had all year, and also why it struggled on consoles for a bit when it released, because the action gets so fucking hectic at times where you have like lots and lots of enemies. Some of them are in the air. You're fucking in the air. You're literally throwing stuff everywhere. Like shit's exploding. Like the debris of everything is going everywhere. Enemies are throwing rockets at you, which of course you can get a skill that when they throw a rocket launcher at you, you can like, of course, stop it mid-air and like turn it around and throw it at them. That's what I'm saying. It's the best Jedi game of the year. These sorts of things. Like there's the way you just pop up shots. It's also like eerily scary at times, but not like a proper horror game, but just the fact, like, especially in the first few hours, you'll walk into a room, you'll just hear like this whispers in your headphones. I mean, play old games with headphones, especially this one. You're like, you're like walking into a room, there's fucking people just floating from the ceiling upside down. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? This is a weird thing that's happening. Some of the, like the last boss fight isn't hot, but some of the side mission boss fights are really, really memorable and wacky and weird. Like one of them, you kind of go inside of a fridge, and that's a thing that happens. So like it's a really interesting game. Performances are great. It's also one of the best looking games of the year. No, not as good looking as my number one in my opinion, but the facial animation capture of this game is also really quite good. Jesse Faden, I can't remember the actress that plays her, but mental blanking, Courtney's Hope. Is it Courtney Hope? I don't know. But they're all great. And then also the combination of the live actiony type TV stuff that they tie in as well is really, really good. So Control stands out. It's just really fun to play. The story's fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah, it is Courtney Hope.
Yeah, Courtney Hope. Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, it literally just looks like her in the game. So they got that good shit, good motion capture down. Kieran, your number one, I presume.
My number one is the only game I can soundly say I finished this year. Is The Outer Worlds, which it's not a big thing to say, oh, I finished it, blah, blah, blah. There was everything else going on in my life this year, but I really love this game. Like, there was something really special about the narrative writing of this game. Maybe not the writing of the main game, of like the main storyline. I didn't, it was pretty straightforward and obvious, and there was no, nothing too surprising about the main storyline, but just the little things about characters I really loved. I loved getting to know Parvati. Like, Parvati's side mission, as we said, is probably maybe the greatest companion side mission of any RPG ever. I would probably say, like, any of these games, like your Mass Effects and stuff that have had these companion style side missions, Parvati's is probably the best and the most where you get time to breathe and actually connect with a character in the game. It's a shame that all of the characters didn't get a side mission to the same kind of caliber. But then again, I think not all of the companions that you got were really equal. Like, there was a couple that were just kind of like thrown at you without much story purpose or anything, that were just kind of there. But I think as a whole, this game made real good steps in RPGs where they were like, Obsidian were like, you guys know how to hack, you know how to lockpick in games. We're just going to let you hold a button, and if you've got a high enough skill, it's just going to unlock for you. And if you're high enough, even higher skill, your lockpick or your hacking tool isn't going to break. Woohoo. Whoop-de. And it was really nice. I think some of the narrative writing around choices in this game is some of the best choice writing, well, as a whole, some of the best choice writing since I think like some of the choices in The Witcher 3, where, and I think once again, it's very, we've all said it in our reviews and in our discussion about this game. This game is very front heavy. Probably the first choice in this game is the biggest choice that they give you the most time to kind of figure out and have a choice over. But that choice is written so well in terms of there's no right answer, and you can deal with it however you feel like you need to deal with it. There's a reason this game can be speedrun in something like 7 minutes. Even like a month after this game coming out, it's amazing for me to find out that there is a quote-unquote idiot's playthrough of this game where if you make your intelligence stat like the lowest it can possibly be, your character gets like choices in the game that no other character get. You only get them because you're that dumb. So you can do a whole range of stupid things, and it's just, an idiot playthrough. I think this game does so much that I really enjoyed and really loved. And having this 20-hour playthrough of a game in today's climate is fucking amazing. I think if they tried to make this game longer, if they tried to make this your 40-plus hour play cycle, I don't think many of us would have loved it as much as we did.
I don't know if I would have finished it.
You don't know if you've... Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Because even if it was lacking in some areas narratively, or if it does, the last kind of third of the game just kind of puts you on a fucking elevator up to the top and is like, hey, go, buddy. You're on your way to the end now. It never overstayed its welcome. It never started to get old. It was the perfect length. And I think that is something that a lot of game developers can learn from in this current climate of video gaming.
Current climate of video gaming.
I've got, this is the podcast episode where Kieran just, wax out, just throws out a couple of on the box quotes,
The Outer Worlds, number one game for the current climate of video gaming. Ash, what is our game of the year?
Our game of the year is Sekiro's Shadow Die Twice.
Wait a minute. After that guy in the middle, he said it was really bad and then it didn't have difficulty settings. He's saying it's game of the year?
No.
No. My game of the year is Death Stranding.
My game of the year is Death Stranding.
Yeah.
We'll tie it in.
The real connection game, not Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. I was not expecting to love this game as much as I did. I think it'd been built up for 3 years. We'd all been making jokes and gags about babies and Mads Mikkelsen and
sticks and
goo.
ropes.
Sticks and ropes and connections. But it all comes together perfectly It is bold. It is engaging. It's rewarding. Every time you make a delivery, you feel like you've accomplished something. Every time you do something that can benefit potentially other players, it feels rewarding. The whole entire like system is really cool. I think I've spent a good 10 hours building roads across the entire America, and then promptly discarding the roads for a network of freaking
Slingshots.
what are they called? Yep, slingshots or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, the music in this is great. It's got me listening to all kinds of things, and it's just timed perfectly. I don't know how that works, but and then even the combat that eventually gets into it is fun. Like I full on needed to get a parcel for something, took a car, ran over the first person I saw, and took out my long non-lethal assault rifle and took everybody else in the camp out. It was great. And then the story is like super emotional. All the characters are really interesting. Yeah, it's kind of crying simulator the game, because if you go watch our best of 2019 Death Stranding video, in that video every single person is crying. It's a fact.
But that's because they're allergic to things.
It could be. There could be a high pollen count involved in the Death Stranding.
There's allergies, man. And you say this. I think it's amazing that you can say great. There's like such great character developments and such strong, powerful characters when they have some of the worst character names in freaking existence.
But they all make sense. They all have relevancy.
It's
crazy.
I remember, no spoilers obviously, but I remember I was like getting right to the end of the game, and there was still one character who hadn't had his big like monologue moment to kind of go over why he's called what he is. And I was like, I think I'm like in the last hour of the game, and then next second here he comes. Here's his moment explaining why he's called what he is and all this stuff. I'm like, fuck, all right, cool.
SAM is an acronym.
Yeah. Delta. Yeah, I honestly also, it's like Death Stranding's kind of the biggest surprise of 2019, I feel, because as much as like I was always going to play it because it was a PlayStation exclusive and I feel like obligated, I was never excited for this game at all. Like, I'm not a big Kojima fan. I never grew up playing all the Metal Gear Solid games. I have no big attachment to those at all. I love Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and I think a lot of the reason I love that game so much is because I don't have the attachment to Metal Gear, which is the reason that other people get pissy that the game doesn't have enough story for them. Whereas I'm like, don't fucking care. The gameplay in this game's like amazing, and I'm having so much fun playing it. So let's just go. So yeah, I don't feel like my opinion on this was swayed by any sort of fanboyism. I went into it with as much open eyes as I could, and some was as surprised as many other people to find that they liked as much as they do. But it's the only game this whole year that, like, upon finishing, I feel like kind of just lay in bed and felt like I was having a moment. Like, and not like I finished Kingdom Hearts 3, like, oh, this is emotional, just like a straight up, like, very easy. Like, the thing that happened on screen caused emotional impact on me because it's like a thing that's very easy to understand what happened, right? Like, a thing happens at ending Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm not dodging spoilers, but there's a thing that happens, you see it happen, and it's emotional for most people for the exact same reason. It's very easy to understand. I mean, like, I finished Death Stranding, I'm laying on my bed just having one of those, like trying to understand and put together, like, I feel like I've just finished something that's meaningful, but I don't understand why it's meaningful. Like, my mind was trying to, like, figure out what the fuck's going on. But I feel like if a game or a movie or anything causes you to have, like, that sort of thought process, it's doing something right. You know, like, I have to feel like if something can make you question and, like, have to figure out what you're feeling, it's probably in a lot of ways more affecting than straight up, like, it's made me happy or it's made me sad, you know, like, it's...
Well, it's even more impressive when you put it like, this is a game where you technically stopped playing the game 2 hours ago, where the last, 2 hours of the game is just cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's just a movie.
Basically. Yeah. I mean, it's also a game where it has 2 credit sequences, and one of those you have to control the character walking around for it, which is silly. But anyway, everything in this game just kind of works for me. It's really, really odd. Like, and this is where it's like, with the people that really hate the game, it's like, obviously it didn't click for them, and I'm like, I wish it did, because I'm not saying like the only reason I enjoy the game is because I found the story really interesting and like the game was shit to play or whatever. I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy making deliveries. I enjoy going through the whole fucking process of it. I didn't find it super, like, I found it as tedious as I feel like it was designed to be. And I found enjoyment in that. I didn't find it tedious as in like, oh, can we just get to the fucking end of this so I can see another cutscene and get back to the end of the part?
Progress the story.
Yeah, I enjoyed the plottiness. I enjoyed slowing down. I enjoyed planning. I enjoyed having a game be like, hey, you know, I know you play 1,000,001 first-person shooters and all these fast-paced things, but like, how about this game literally forces you to go, slow down, take a moment, don't rush things. If you try and rush things, you will fucking fail. I see all these videos on Twitter of people be like, this game's terrible. Yeah, all these people on Twitter like post a video saying this game's trash because they're like climbing up a mountain and they're trying to sprint and they fucking fall and the package breaks and then they're like, game over and all this stuff. They're like, what is this trash game? I'm like, that never happened to me. I think it happened to me once. But other than that, it never really happened to me because I was like, you gotta be calm. The game literally says, take it, like, you gotta be slow. You can't rush things. Like, that is a part of the game. And I guess it's like a test of patience. But I found it fun for some reason, like to test my patience. It's really quite unique. And there's also like a weird thing in my brain where I'm like, why am I stopping at every single one of these signs and liking them for the full amount I can? Why? But I can't stop doing it. You know? It just, it's making me feel good for some reason to be like, like, give me the full likes this person. Oh, this person put a sign, like, and it helped me. Better give them all likes. Oh, this person put up a fucking mushroom thing in the middle of nowhere and that helped me from the storm. Give all them the fucking likes, you know, like I was enjoying doing that.
A bunch of people peed here. Let's like it.
Yeah, let's like that. Yeah, it's really weird. I honestly feel like in some ways Kojima did tap into like a weird, like, section of the world we live in today that a lot of us haven't like tapped into with like, it does feel good to like stuff and also just receive likes in this game. I remember when they announced it, I'm like, that's silly. But I'm like, oh, it feels good actually. Like, please like my buildings. I like seeing the likes pop up on the screen. And
I put so much metal and ceramics into it.
It's like, why the fuck am I driving to a place, filling up a truck with all these items, taking them to I'm like, this is what I'm doing with my afternoon right now. This is this is the fun time I'm having. Yeah, so it's like, and I would also say that the game is obviously somewhat back-ended like Kingdom Hearts is, but not as bad. Like, the story does progress throughout the game, but obviously the back end of this game is very story. It
goes to another level.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, we're just having you watch a movie. Like, that's how much we're filling the story. Not to say that the story isn't like throughout the game, because there are cutscenes here and there, but because there's such big breaks of like, okay, 10 hours of deliveries and now you get some more story kind of thing. Like, it feels like very back-ended, but yeah, by the time the credits roll, that fucking Church's song starts playing in the credits, and I was just like, all right, well, it's game of the year, because what the fuck beats this?
Because it's got churches in it, yeah.
Not just because of churches, just because I was like, wow, what a fucking thing. I mean, I just can't. The end of that game is something to me. Like, it, and I feel like I can kind of say, because I put it in my review, and I feel like I got away with saying it without spoilers then, so I feel like I can say it now. But like, when I finished the game, I felt like I understood the game, which was weird. And maybe I'm wrong, because the understanding I have is maybe not, like, isn't what Kojima intended. But I think often with art like this, like, it could be subjective to what you take away from it. And in my review, I wrote about how I thought the game was about someone who's depressed and like how he kind of makes his way through that. And I have a reason why I think that, to do with the way the game ends, and I think that's why it kind of hit me in a certain way, but other people may not get that, so it might not work for them. But yeah, I definitely feel like literally the last couple of minutes of that game, everything it does, the way it ends, and then that song kicking in, and then my brain just being like, I get it. Like, everything makes sense to me. Like, every character story, everything that's happened perfectly kind of clicked into place for me. I was like, I love it. I love a Kojima game. What the fuck? What a world we're living in. You know, so... And I've gone from being like, oh, I'll watch these trailers for shits and giggles to now I'm like at the point where, and I've talked about, obviously, we're trying to be mostly celebratory here, but I did have some problems, Kojima-ish type things. I still think he has issues with his female characters in his games. Not as bad as Phantom Pain, but I still think he has problems here, but they're improving, and I hope next game they get better again. I don't know. But I'm now at this weird state where I went from not really caring about Kojima to I'm like, he posts on Twitter the other day that he's like concepting for his next game. I'm like, what is it? Like, because I love this so much.
The clues are there.
Yeah. I'm now just like, what is he working on? I can't wait to find out. This game's kind of sold me on. I wouldn't say like I'm Kojima's super fan, but I definitely feel like, you know, when you watch a movie from a director you love, you're like all eyes on their next project.
The next thing he's going to do.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of what I am for Kojima for the first time in my life. I'm finally just like, what's he doing now? Because this was like, I don't know how someone can have an idea so fast after this. And the idea of Death Stranding is just crazy. So yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on Death Stranding?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything we can without going into spoilers.
I wish I could go into spoilers. Well,
maybe we should like wrap the show up soonish so we don't go to 3 hours again, guys.
no, that's silly.
Nah, let's keep going.
Keep going.
Let's keep going.
What's-
3 hours?
11 to 20. Let's go.
Why don't you just hit 2 hours? It's perfectly fine. Come on, calm down. It's a perfect length for this type of show. I mean, that's it. Any last? I mean, it's the last episode of the year. Anyone have any final things they want to say for 2019? Any?
For a year that is supposed to be sparse because a lot of companies and developers are saving their games now for the next generation. I think this is probably the best pre-generation year we've ever had.
I mean, that's what I said. Like looking at my list, like Control, Death Stranding, and all these other things, I'm like, not a bad year, that's for sure. I can't, you know, I definitely can't say it was a bad year. So, also, but I always feel like every generation, it's like this weird year period is usually kind of soft, but then there's always that like first 6 months before the next generation that's usually got heavy hitters. And it's always been like that since like The Last of Us, you know, because that game came out the top end or like just the end of the year before or whatever. And then we're going to go into next year, Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy, fucking whatever else. So let's go hard. Let's go ham. Let's go ham. Ash, any final thoughts? Anything you want to say?
No, I think we covered everything. I'm really looking forward to this break where maybe I can get to some of these backlog games. Finishing Death Stranding, I think I'm desperately going to try and do that over this weekend. So maybe we can talk about it at some point before the break. Unlikely, no promises. And then Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium I want to play, which I want to shout out because it is Nick's game of the year.
And
again,
I'm sure
go to our best of 2019 content because he wrote a long piece about Disco Elysium.
The longest thing he's ever written. I was very proud. I was like, I wanted to buy him flowers. Yeah, well, that's it then. So Arcade Couch, this is the last one for the year. We are Explosion Network is going on holidays for basically 2 weeks from the 1st onwards, roughly. So we'll be back
the 12th.
What? No, Explosion
19th.
Yeah, whatever day.
Arcade Cat. No, 18th.
2 weeks from now.
18th of January.
2 weeks.
Won't it be the 21st of January will Arcade Couch will be back? Because Arcade Couch releases on a Saturday?
Yeah. I don't know.
Why would we be releasing the episode on a Wednesday, Ashley?
It's on my calendar. It says
oh wait,
it'll be 18th.
Shut up!
Oops!
I wasn't looking at December. I thought I'd change the month. Shut up, everybody. Carry on. Close the show, Dylan. Close the show. I've been on way too many podcasts in the last couple of months. I need my time off.
Tell me fucking
up. One a week.
How do you reckon me and Ash feel, motherfucker?
How many hours of content did we put out last week?
100 hours. I did some numbers on our content actually for an article I was going to put up at the end of the year, so I'll give you those once we're done recording. That'll be it. So we're off for a couple of weeks. Thank you all for listening to Arcade Couch this year. Obviously, I feel like this year was the first official year of Arcade Couch because we kind of, only had a couple episodes in 2018 before we traveled over, and I feel like we kind of got the proper footings of this show this year. So I think the show's off to a great start. Thank you all for listening. If you want to give us a present over the break period, if you haven't given us an Apple Podcast review, go do that. That would be very handy. Or over at Podchaser as well. If I can go review every single episode, we'll quickly jump to number one, I think. If that's something you want to do.
And
Yeah.
If you do want to make like a monetary donation, we want you to send it to the New South Wales Fire Department, I believe. That was the link that we posted on Twitter and Facebook.
I mean, I still got it pinned.
So
whatever it
check
is.
there.
I should have made a bit.ly.
Probably.
Would have been helpful.
But yes. Donate to stuff in our name. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
And then tweet at us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So, hey, I did this in your name. And we'd be like, thanks.
Thanks, everyone. So we'll see you next year, next decade, next century, whatever it is.
Oh, he said it. Thanks.
Check explosionnetwork.com, of course, and explosionnetwork.com/best of 2019, best of 2019 content. Game stuff is currently up. Movie stuff is happening starting 2 days from
Monday.
now after this. Yeah, so Monday, as it's happening. And that'll be it. Follow Twitter at ExplosionPod. Follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. Follow Kieran on Twitter at Your Boy Ringo. Follow Ashley on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. And until next time, same couch in a couple weeks in a new year. I don't know. Bye.
That ending doesn't really work when we have a break.
No, it doesn't. But have a good year.
Have a good
everyone.
year.